And it was Monday, just after a Fight Night Picks video was released on Sunday. It was announced that the great white Alex Morono going to come in and replace Robbie Lawler, who's out with an undisclosed injury. And of course, we also have Antonio Tricoli out of his fight with OSP. Tricoli, see you later. It wasn't meant to be, but what was meant to be was Houston's Alex Morono getting the shot. Now, this one's going to be at a catch weight of 180 pounds. Originally, Ponzinibbio at 170 to take on Robbie Lawler. But Matt, I know you're really excited about this fight. And I mean, Alex Morono, for those who are uninitiated, he's on a 4-fight win streak. He's 11-4 with the promotion with a no contest. And we talked about that last week. You know, the sticky icky for Nico Price. He was doing the sticky icky. He tested positive. So that was a knockout loss. But regardless, Alex Morono actually has more UFC fights than Santiago Ponzinibbio. That might surprise a lot of people. And the other crazy thing about it, Alex Morono has been involved on more pay-per-view cards than Santiago Ponzinibbio has. Now, this is going to be Morono's first main card on a pay-per-view, but he's already been included on 4 pay-per-view cards for Ponzinibbio. There's going to be a second main card opportunity. If fans might remember, second to last fight, UFC 269 against Jeff Neal. That was on the main card. You paid for that one. You're also going to pay for this one. But Matt, again, Alex Morono seems to be like this weird dark horse that's kind of stuck between 25 and 35. I always consider him higher than he might be, but now all of a sudden he gets that opportunity. This 4-fight win streak, his last time out, I thought he was going to finish Matthew Semmelsberger inside of the first 2 rounds. Semmelsberger, the end of the second, into the third, they bring the doctor in. His eye is swollen just about shut. And then he walks out and throws a jumping switch knee that knocks down Morono, because it's not an Alex Morono fight without him getting knocked down.
Exactly.
He gets knocked down. He rallies and kind of points his way through the third round. One of the judges scored at 30-27, which I thought was really silly. But overall, he's as tough as a $2 steak. And he has some really wild, exciting fights. I know you're really looking forward to this one.
This is a great fight, and I'm really happy that the UFC gave Santiago Ponzinibbio an opponent who is similar to Robbie Lawler. It's not like he has to go in and completely change up his game plan. Now, what I think is really important and something that we probably wouldn't have touched on otherwise is that Ponzinibbio was training for a southpaw. He is not doing that now. And I think that's a really big factor because Robbie Lawler is one of those famous southpaws. It's like when you think of left-handed basketball players, like James Harden's just the first guy who comes to mind. Everybody thinks of the step back. Robbie Lawler is a primary southpaw, and he's not a guy who switches stances much either. So I'll be really curious to see how Ponzinibbio adjusts to just the overall opponent change and the movement change too, because something we brought up a lot in the Robbie Lawler breakdown was Lawler fights like the guy from 2013. We're just very far removed from that. And he still gets hit by some of those big shots. It's just he can't really recover from them the same way he used to be able to. Like you just mentioned, Alex Morono gets hit and gets hurt in every single one of his fights. The difference between him and Robbie Lawler is, though, Alex Morono could recover from those big shots a lot better. So although Morono, let's not get it twisted, his prime is nowhere near what Robbie Lawler's prime was. But I will be curious to see, because you're going from fighting a guy in his 40s to fighting someone who is in their mid-30s. And Morono might not be a guy who ever gets ranked. I think he's just going to be a difficult test for a lot of prospects on their way up. He's just one of those guys. We say this about a lot of fighters. If you beat Alex Morono, good things are going to happen to you. I'll be really curious to see, though, because I think Alex Morono's volume might be a bit of a problem for Ponzinibbio, because Ponzinibbio does like to try to land that one big shot. We talked about the straight right, the left hook a lot. If he's not able to land that combination consistently in this fight, I can see a world where Alex Morono could just outwork Ponzinibbio.
Well, and that's the kind of crazy thing about it. If you do look at it, you look at Alex Morono's overall UFC career. He had a fight of the night against Sung Kenan way back when. It was a really good one, Fight Night Blades versus Ngannou. And then Cerrone beating him, he got a performance bonus. That kind of started this win streak. He beat Cerrone, beats Zavada, beats Gall, and beats Semmelsberger. But like you said, if you beat Alex Morono, he was a skill check for Anthony Pettis. He didn't really do a whole heck of a lot in that fight. He kind of got schooled in the third round. Chaos Williams dropped him, kind of made a name for himself. Jordan Meehan got a win. Kaita Nakamura way back when in 2017, split decision win. And then, of course, the Nico Price loss. But if you go through and you look at it, 106 significant strikes from Morono against Semmelsberger, 176 against Reese McKee. They went at it in their fight. And if you really do dissect it, just number for number's sake, we don't really do this a lot with Fight Night Picks, but both guys, again, Morono has 16 fights in the UFC, Ponzinibbio has 15. So that's a large enough sample size that you can draw some conclusions. Morono's level of competition hasn't been the same as Ponzinibbio's, But again, long sample size. For Morono, 5.36 strikes landed per minute. For Ponzinibbio, 5. Those are still really high. Accuracy, 2% higher for Morono at 43%. Strikes absorbed per minute, 4.01 for Morono, 4.77 for Ponzinibbio. So Ponzinibbio is getting hit a little bit more. His technical defense, the percentage, 3% higher at 60%. But I say this because both of these guys have really high amounts of output, a little bit more for Morono as a career average. And both guys tend to get hit a little bit more than UFC average. Morono a little bit less than Ponzinibbio. But if you look at it for Morono, we know him for that kind of light, ballsy your feet type of style. He's a Taekwondo black belt. He's a second degree jiu-jitsu black belt. He's a co-owner with his wife of Gracie Baja Woodlands, but he also trains at Fortis MMA. So you know the general, Safe Saud's going to be in his corner, who just loves to yell at his fighters. So I think that's going to be really fun. He wills them into battle. But when you look at this matchup, Matt, like you said, I mean, you're going from Alex Morono that he can switch his stances a little bit. He's not going to do it very often. He throws a decent level of kick, but he doesn't really just commit himself to a leg kick like and he
doesn't check them at all.
He doesn't tend to check them very much, which is a little difficult when you're taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio, because Ponzinibbio is one of those guys that's going to like do the old shell up, throw his leg kick, like almost like a Muay Thai fighter in that respect. So I do like that of Ponzinibbio in this matchup. But regardless, when we do look at it, I'm just going to bring up the Tapology votes really quick so we can talk about it. 406 total votes, 68% Ponzinibbio, 62% by decision, 33% by knockout. For the 32% that are Morono, 75% by decision. So are you surprised that the fans are going overwhelmingly with Ponzinibbio there?
If you ask me where I was split on this fight, I would honestly be split about the same way. Like 2/3 of me thinks Ponzinibbio is probably going to be able to get it done. He is the more technical striker at the end of the day, and that's what we do have to remember. Because Alex Morono, for his unorthodox, like you had mentioned, he just had that weird movement from the outside. He is kind of a basic kickboxer, even though he is somewhat unorthodox with his strikes. He does have a very high level of output. I think the 180 pounds is heavily going to favor Ponzinibbio, though, over Alex Morono. I actually do think those 10 extra pounds, I know Ponzinibbio is getting ready to cut weight, but still, Ponzinibbio is not a small welterweight by any means, and I don't really look at Alex Morono as being a big guy for the weight division. Like, he's just kind of a welterweight. He's sort of a smaller one, if I'm being completely honest. So I guess that's something that will be able to readjust on question mark kicks if there is a really big difference come fight night. But I think it'll be an interesting fight. I think it comes down to how in shape is Alex Morono, because if he is willing to go to war, if you will, if he's going to eat a shot to give a shot with a guy like Ponzinibbio, if he is in really good shape, if he doesn't get knocked down or hurt early, then this is going to be a really difficult fight. Like I said to open up this video, I know we were both really excited for Ponzinibbio, Robbie Lawler, like fight of the night, fight of the year type stuff, no matter what stage of the careers that they're in. I'm really happy that they're not just throwing some dominant wrestler to Ponzinibbio now. Like, they're giving him a guy who's going to give him a similar look of a fight to Robbie Lawler, and that should make for a very fun one.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Morono's great at jiu-jitsu, but he's not the type of guy that's going to go out there and chain double legs together and continue to wrestle. And if you do look at it for him, Matt, like, you look at his fights, you think fun fight style, fight of the night. Again, he does have one on his ledger, but when you do focus on it for Santiago Ponzinibbio, getting ready for a striker, 180 pounds, he's an inch taller, has an extra inch of reach. So, size on a page, we'll have to see how they both size up on Friday. I have Ponzinibbio as well. Just, I like the fact that he's able to cut the cage quite well in his fights. But when guys fight Alex Morono, he can kind of dictate the dance from distance, and that's what makes him so good in these fights. He's able to land those kicks from distance, not have like a long, drawn-out reset. He's quick to get right back into position and then continue to fire off offense while defending very well. When he gets hit by the big shot, then he can struggle, but who doesn't? So, Matt, both of us going with the Argentine Dagger, one of the best nicknames in the game, Santiago Ponzinibbio, to get the win. Really like to hear your thoughts on this matchup in the comments section down below. Short notice again, like I said, Tricoli is out versus OSP. Didn't look like they wanted to keep him around for another fight anyway. And poor OSP, 3 fights falling out in a row. Gustafsson, Linz, now Tricoli. If there's any more updates, we'll bring them to you as soon as possible. Question mark kicks 2 hours before the prelims, as well as the Fight Night Picks fight sidekick. That one's going to be live during that pay-per-view. Matt, how excited are you for this card, this UFC 282 card, on a scale of mild to medium?
If you want my honest opinion, not that much. We get a co-main event is now the main event. Like, it's not really doing it for me.
It's not doing it for you. But you know what? You're going to get to enjoy that with us. You're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say,
Let's get
Let's
into
get
it.
into it.